How would you define good mental health?
I think mental health I don't feel it's defined in the right way, because I think we should talk about mental well-being before we talk about mental health, because I feel like they're two different subjects.
Yeah.
So mental well-being is about feeling well and exercising and eating well and all of those things and making yourself feel better. Mental health is different. It comes under diagnosis and that's a whole different issue to mental well-being.
Yeah.
Having a cry every now and then. You're allowed to be anxious as well, but being happy, like majority of the time being happy. You can still be sad, but not too much.
Someone who's perceptive enough to know where they're at. Because good mental health doesn't mean you don't have poor mental health. It means you're able to recognise when you're not in good mental health.
I think it's more by the actions. So being able to get up and having had a good night's sleep, and even if you haven't necessarily had enough hours, you still have had a good night's sleep, and also to be able to go to bed without taking much into your sleep. That's how I define almost it's much more complicated than that again.
When somebody talks about health, there's the physical health and then there's the mental health. Mental health, there's a big spectrum of what it includes. It doesn't only include physical well-being, it includes how the person's doing in terms of their job, their relationships, how they're feeling internally. So there's mental health, like you can't define it. Like to each individual, it's a bit different, but I think it's a very individualized thing where we need to appreciate it and take the subject as a very, like we can't take it for what it's on the surface for, but like we still need to improve our understanding of it, which is why I can't define it right now.
Someone feels good about themselves. Someone is able to access mental health services and to enable them to function well in the society.
Positive thinking, just being happy, I guess. That's probably
generally content, not too stressed about things, stable thoughts, sleeping well.
What do you think about the availability of mental health services in the UK?
There isn't enough. And also they prioritise different illnesses, so like eating disorders is prioritised over other mental health issues, and they equally need the same amount of support. So I don't really see how you can prioritise one over the other.
So I think there are quite a few services because I'm a physio, I am aware of it because I've had to signpost people to them. So there's BetterHelp, which is paid, but it's not like it's not through the NHS, but it's paid. But there's that service. There's also services through the NHS, like talking therapies, which people can go to. So there are services. Maybe there's a waiting list, but they do. I do think they triage it. So if somebody's like, in a worse place than somebody else, they will put them higher up in the list. So there are services. I just think people need to like reach out for it. But again, it's not easy when you're going through something to look out and reach out like that.
It's quite available. They make it for like schools and stuff. So when you're in education and like jobs, they always have people that are there, so you can speak to your mental health about.
Obviously in schools we've got support, we've got Place to Be, we've got sort of learning support, we've got academic, social elements of good mental health support, so support structures people need.
It's knowledge, but it's also not being in the wokery world. If you feel down, it doesn't mean that you're clinically depressed. It's about people knowing what is the difference between an actual illness and this is just a bad day.
I'm a social worker myself, so I do make quite a bit of referrals back in the US, and I want to say it could be better, but I think with post-pandemic there's been more need for mental health services. And I think one of the areas that they could improve on is having more remote services, so that people are not just going to hospital, the emergency room for mental health services. So could it be better? Yes. Are there some places that have it worse? Yes. So
how comfortable do you feel about talking about your mental health with your friends and family?
Really comfortable.
Yeah,
I feel so.
not comfortable, not in my culture. So
I'll give it like a 9 out of 10. I'm pretty open. I feel like talking helps me de-stress, so it's good for my mental health. So I like to talk about it.
Oh, that's a complicated question, no? To a certain extent, yes. I'm fortunate that I do have friends and family that are supportive, as do most of the people, which I believe so. But it's a very important thing. I mean, I think these are the first line of defense. I mean, your family and friends are the first line of defense. If not, then hopefully the system will catch up.
Very. We have to be open about it these days.
Again, very.
I think what
Yeah.
we've all seen is that for many people that appear to have great mental health, they are the ones that don't. So you need to be very open about it these days, and we are, aren't we? Completely in our family.
I didn't speak to it like with my family. No, that's so awkward. But my friends, yeah, definitely.
And why do you feel like it's within your family you can't like really speak to them, if you don't mind me asking?
I can, but that's just so awkward. Like, I wouldn't sit down with my mum and tell her, oh my days, I'm so depressed. Like, I need 10K right now. I'm so depressed, mum, because I don't have money. Like, I would never just sit there and say that.
I personally feel very comfortable. I think each individual is a bit different. Some people like talking about it. Some people don't like talking about it. I think because I consider myself a very communicative person, for me it's easy. And I do think, like, especially men will talk about it way less. I think there's a whole stigma around it. But yeah, I feel comfortable, but I don't think everyone does. And we have to appreciate that and, you know, take that into consideration.
Fairly comfortable. It's not something that I need to discuss that often, fortunately, but I think with anything that would come up, I think I could talk to my friends about it.
Yeah, I think I've got a decent support network, so I think that's, yeah.
What sort of mental health resources do you find helpful?
Meditation, exercise,
Yeah.
good diet, sleeping well.
Just having people to talk to, really. Like, I feel like as long as you like get it out of your system, you feel a lot better. Whereas if you don't have anyone to talk to, it's worse because it's like bottled up.
But you're talking about
From a school's
Yeah, but
perspective.
this is an independent school.
Okay.
Okay. So what do I think? I think that it's not enough, and then too much in some areas. Yeah, it's a whole sort of, it's a fashionable topic to talk about. So there's a lot of resources going into some areas of it, but not in the right areas.
I think it's a political tool, weapon. It needs, I think, probably a root and branch to really work out where we're at with it, what the provision is, to be able to sort of measure it more effectively. So I think fundamentally it's just patching up maybe where it needs to, and I'm not sure it necessarily is as effective as it could be, I think.
Well, it's only available for the rich people. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's quite tricky to get it. I think people don't know how to deal with it. I think it's getting better, but also it's getting better maybe with the younger people, maybe, or people that are more... Because I feel like there is always this misconception that if you have a mental health issue, that means there is something wrong with you. When no, everybody would benefit from like seeing someone or talk about what's going on with them.
Thanks for following us up until now. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe to our channel because it goes a long way. This is Gaushi signing out from MediReach.